Hello, BookTube. I've got a bit of a December TBR for you, some December possibilities to maybe add to your pile or not. Certainly some things that are going to call to me in December, which somehow is right around the corner. I'm not 100% sure if you're ever going to see this video. I have no idea how it's going to sound or look if you do. It all looks fairly okay to me. I am filming on my iPad as opposed to on my MacBook because my MacBook is currently misbehaving in a fairly serious way. It is fairly seriously telling me to go suck an egg, as my generation used to say, and I don't know what to do about it. Uh, yes, I have contacted David Murphy, but there's only so much he can do when he's not here, when he's remote. I have been shamelessly vamping this as an obvious justification for him to hop on a plane and come here for the next 3 weeks, but I don't think he's going to do that. So it's going to have to stay remote. Uh, and I thought at first that meant no videos, but then I remembered that how many of you film on your iPad. Lots of you do. It definitely happens. Millions and millions of people film videos and upload them to YouTube on their iPads every day. So it can't be that hard. I have filmed on an older iPad years ago. I've never filmed on this one. This is a fairly new iPad, and also it's had the iOS 26 update. So I'm hoping for the best. But I thought we'd go through some December releases, see what intrigues you. Maybe my 2 cents worth on some of them. And we'd start with a few funny books, a few comic books to talk about this time around. The first one is an omnibus that I didn't realize until I saw it that I've been waiting for. Uh, it slipped out of your mind. There's so many comics out there. This is by Jim Starlin, the great Jim Starlin, who, if you're not a comic book fan, you won't readily know his name. But he came up with something, a gimmick, a visual, not to mention the character that does the visual. He came up with a combination of character and visual and gimmick that is now known all over the world. I would say that I hope he's been enormously well compensated for it financially, but I guarantee he hasn't been. Comic book companies are so bad about that sort of thing. You need to drag them through court to get them to pay you what anyone would fairly say they owe you. And that thing that he created is the Thanos snap, where the supervillain Thanos raises his gloved hand with the gauntlet, the Infinity Gauntlet, snaps his fingers, and turns to dust 1/3 of the universe, 1/3 of the living beings in the universe, which was an iconic comic book moment among the niche people, the niche band of incels that like comics, until it was made into a movie and was prominently featured in two Avengers movies, one of which is the highest grossing movie of all time. So now every kid in Jakarta knows what the Thanos snap is, and Jim Starlin invented that. He invented Thanos, and he invented that moment. Uh, but he also did a series on his own. I remember encountering it in a magazine, a full color magazine that Marvel Comics did a long time ago. He came up with a character called Dreadstar, who learns that he is immortal. And the original artwork, the original Dreadstar appearance in, I think, Epic Illustrated was like 8 pages. They were gorgeously painted. They were so sad. It was such a sad little adventure. He's not really a superhero. At least at the beginning, he wasn't. And then Starlin fans loved that little thing. I did. It's the reason I kept that issue. And then Starlin reworked it and reworked it. He did more returns to the character of Dreadstar. Finally, did a little bit of a series, an ongoing series of comics about Dreadstar that I did not read. But I read a lot of the initial appearances, and also I can't really describe the haunting power of that first installment. I saw in December's listing there is going to be a Dreadstar omnibus. This is just volume one. No idea how big it will be, and also no idea if this publisher will play ball with me a little more readily than Marvel and DC tend to do. It's a little bit tough getting review copies of Marvel and DC, which is uh, kind of odd when you think about it. It's kind of odd. I assume that they are thinking, well, if we come out with a $150 omnibus collection of reprints of the Avengers from the 1970s, the buying audience of that volume, the buying audience sufficient to recoup us our cost and get us a profit, is already worked in. There's no reason that a critic would be of any value to us at all. I don't know that that's true. I really don't. Maybe with the Avengers, but with the smaller, lesser run things in Marvel and DC that are finally getting anthologies and big hardcover omnibuses, you tell me. If you are comics friendly, but you haven't really kept up with what's new or what's good or what's bad out there. And me or Michael K. Vaughan were to hold up a $125 hardcover omnibus of something and sing its praises for 20 minutes, you tell me if you wouldn't feel more nudged than otherwise to plunk down the money and buy it. I honestly do believe that Mike and I ought to be on their list, Marvel and DC. Instead of having hours to go out and buy these things like Bridge Trolls. But anyway, I don't know I don't know who this publisher is. I don't know if they'll be able to play ball a little bit more readily with me. And I also don't know if I will like the later adventures of Dreadstar. That's him with the sword and the ray gun. That's his various supporting cast in the background. I don't know if I will like the direction that Jim Starlin takes him in. I have no idea. I would say it's almost worth the price of this thing just for the original adventures, the first few appearances. I have those, but those magazines are falling apart. I don't know. I don't know. Very, very interesting to see. Then we have a little natural history. This is Trent Presler. This is his book Evergreen. The Trees That Shaped America. This will be a study of, the ecology of evergreen trees and also how they've been used culturally, commercially, building ships, building cities, building train ties. These sorts of things usually intrigue me for the first 50 pages, and then I think, okay, then I realize, okay, I wasn't all that interested in trees to begin with, and this isn't helping any. So I don't know. I'll give it a read in December. I'll give it a read. Then this next one is odd. I had to reach out for this. I don't usually do that. This is a UK publication, and I don't usually do that. No matter how much I'm tempted. I am very tempted right now by the big Penguin trade paperback, UK Penguin trade paperback of Andy Roberts' biography of Churchill. I think it's called Walking with Destiny or Drinking with Destiny or something like that. Big, huge thing that I remember reading and thinking was really, really good. I didn't keep it. And there's a squat, square Penguin trade paperback of that. I've been very tempted to get that and the squat, square Penguin trade paperback of Ian Kershaw's Hitler condensed into one volume. Those two together. That's 2,000 pages of biography. I've been very tempted to do that, but I usually don't. But I had a friend in the publishing industry email me and say, I read it, and it's my job to read these things, but I couldn't help but think of you, and I think you would really like this. Can I send you the ebook? It's Mills and Boon. It's Harlequin and Mills and Boon, but I don't know that this has come out in the United States yet. It'll be a Harlequin historical when it does. And don't I remember Sarah, reading Category Romance, say that Harlequin historicals aren't made in the United States anymore? So maybe buying this internationally is the only way that I would get it. It's by Jenny Fletcher, who I don't think I've ever read, and it's a Marquess to Remember. And it's a novel about a woman who wakes up married to her archenemy. She has no memory of how it happened. He was intended for someone else. And now she has to just live with that and try and figure it out. And the person who emailed me about this said, it is not as cookie cutter as that sounds. The ending is as pleasingly complicated, was the phrase. Well, okay. Okay, so I have it on my Kindle. I will give it a read and see. Then we have a reprint that I know quite well. Oh, can we have background noise even on the iPad? Yes, we can. I wonder how audible it will be. I wonder how all the vagaries of using this device to record. Will it block out background noise automatically? Or does it maybe have more finessability than the MacBook did in me doing that myself? I don't know. I shouldn't describe it as though this is a permanent thing. Probably my MacBook has a solution. But anyway, this next one is This Monster. It is the Spectacular Spider-Man, which is being reprinted. This was a one-shot thing. This is not the Spectacular Spider-Man comic book series. The Amazing Spider-Man was doing just fine for Marvel, and they decided the groundbreaking decision to make a second Spider-Man comic, just concurrent with Spider-Man. DC Comics, the home of all the real superheroes, used to do that all the time, but Marvel never did. And then all of a sudden they did. Suddenly there were 2 monthly Spider-Man comics. But this isn't that. This is from a decade before that. This was a one-shot, and I got it at the time. I'm sure that it's collectible now. That original, I'm sure that it is. I didn't keep my collectible. I didn't keep that original. I didn't like it enough. But now it's being reprinted, and I think it's being reprinted in facsimile size and maybe even with the original stuff inside, the original ads and editorial stuff and whatnot. I don't know. We'll see. I have a pretty good comic shop here in Boston. I could, I suppose, asked them to set this aside for me in December. The thing is, that comic shop used to have a guy that worked there named Adam, and he was great. He actually understood customer service, the real customer service, the real thing. He actually understood it and was happy to do it. It's not like he came to work and put on a game face. He was happy to do it, just like I was when I worked in retail. Real customer service is where you want to make the customer feel welcome and happy. You want that. It'll make you feel better to do that. And Adam was an absolute natural. And a lot of customers up in the comic book corner of his comic shop didn't know what to do with it. When he would come up to them and say, how's it going? Or that was interesting, or what do you think about this? I recognized right away a kindred spirit, and we got on like a house of fire. He's not there anymore. When he was there, it was entirely possible for me to do what I like to do at my LCS, any local comic shop, which is to take aside the person who's going to get me and say, I can't do a pull list because monthly comics from Marvel and DC are largely ideologically captured. They are largely stink. They're largely about food. So I can't do a pull list, but I can guarantee to spend money. I can guarantee to do that. I can guarantee to spend enough money to make it worth your while to make some sort of quasi pull list for me. And he did. So I would go through the comics listings for the upcoming week or the upcoming month, and I would pick out oddities like this and say, I'll certainly buy it. Sight unseen. And he recognized, as is absolutely true, that is something you want. It's not a standard monthly pull list, but it doesn't matter. You want to do that anyway if you've got a customer doing that. I don't know that anybody at the shop would do that for me now, so I don't know if I'll get this or not. I obviously can't ask Marvel Comics for it. I wish I could. Then this next one is translated by Ryan Bloom. This is the Complete Notebooks of Albert Camus. This comes out in December. I cannot recommend this strongly enough if you are already interested in Camus. I can recommend it even if you aren't interested in Camus, because when I first fell under the spell of this book, I was not. I thought his two famous novels were ham-handed, and the man himself, just this murky, stale ashtray world of post-war French philosophizing, no aspect of it appeals to me at all. And yet I love this. Just love it. Oh my, what a title this is. What a thing. This is, I think, the first English language complete translation of the Complete Notebooks of Camus, and I thought they were amazing. So I've gone back to a couple of the works of his that I have maligned. I confess I haven't found much in them that I didn't find the first few times. I don't know. It was all spurred by my compulsive rewatching of the new black and white movie adaptation of The Stranger, which I think is brilliant. But now I have two checks in the Camus column because these notebooks are great too. Let me do a novel. This is Ben Markovitz. This is his novel, The Rest of Our Lives. I haven't read it. It's contemporary fiction, so I don't hold out much hope. But I gather at the bare bones, it is the story of young man and young woman who make a vow that if either one of them is ever unfaithful to the other, they will stay together for the sake of the children, until the children have left the nest. And this is a story of a husband who has done that. His wife was unfaithful to him, and he has stuck around, and now he is sending off the last of his children, at which point he intends to simply leave. He hasn't forgiven in all that time. It hasn't become easier. I don't know. I don't know what I'll make of this. Probably it will be full of easy jokes and endless obsessing about food. Probably it will be. I'm sure that it came through a workshop program of some kind or other, which means it will bear an unbelievable, unhealthy genetic similarity to every other book that has come through a workshop program. Then we have another comic book. This is a collection of Batman and Robin Year One. So not Batman Year One, a great comic book by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. Instead, this is the powers that be at DC Comics dramatizing the first year that Batman spent with his youthful ward, Dick Grayson, unleashing him, as the publicity material for this goes, on the crime world of Gotham as Robin, the Boy Wonder. And what that's like. What it's like to take a boy into combat, what it's like to take a child into your home as a ward, how it changes Bruce Wayne. I read the first issue of this and kind of liked it. I quite liked it. And even at the time that I read that, I thought, what I will do with this is a process known in the comic world as trade waiting. I liked the first issue well enough to know that probably, unless this goes drastically off the rails, I will enjoy the whole thing. But I'm not going to buy the whole thing if I'm going to buy the whole thing when it comes out as one story. So I did. I trade waited, and now it's coming out as a trade. So I will get the whole thing. You can see hint of the Penguin there, another hint of the Joker, maybe a hint of Killer Croc or whatnot. Well, we will see. We will see. I did not follow the rest of the story. So the only version of this story that I know is this has been on twice that I have read. Once in Robin Year One, and of course the original. I've read the reprints of all the originals from the 1940s where Robin did join Batman originally. We will see. I'm sure that I will be pleased. Then this next one, this is by C.D.C. Reeve and Pavlos Kontos, and it is a new translation of the complete works of Aristotle. No idea. I have no idea how available this will be. No idea whether or not. I haven't yet started beating the bushes to get a box set, in the mail. I'm obviously not going to buy this. Obviously not going to buy this. I'm not going to get it from the library. So I don't know whether or not it's really rarefied or expensive. So it looks like it could be expensive. I might not get a copy from the publisher. I would be totally up to read large chunks of a new translation of Aristotle, provided there's an emphasis on new. There was one canonical, absolutely towering English language translation of Aristotle from 100 years ago, and every translation of any part of his work ever since has toiled in the shadow of that gigantic translation. It'd be nice if one didn't. So we'll see. If I get it, I will definitely spend a lot of time with it. Then we have something by Bailey Hanna. This is a Wells Ranch novel, and I believe I've read at least 2 other Wells Ranch novels. It's a modern day Western romance. It's called At Wit's End, and Wit is one of the main characters. That's him on the cover. And this is a story about, from what I gather, I haven't read it yet. It's a story about him using simple optimism and human faith, not religious faith, to rebuild the shattered self-confidence of the woman that he encounters in Wells Ranch. Such a simple story that when I read the description, I was amazed that there wasn't more to it. And I'm wondering if Bailey Hanna, I don't think I've ever read Bailey Hanna, but I'm wondering, I read 2 other Wells Ranch novels, but they didn't read like that. The plot descriptions read much more stereotypically romantic than that description. And maybe more happens in this book that just wasn't in that description. But I know already that I like the tenor of these books, so I will give At Wit's End a try. Then we have something by Elizabeth McCracken. This is a long game. It's her notes on writing fiction. And anybody of the many, many, many people who have listened to her talk about the craft of writing or been instructed by her in the craft of writing will have been waiting a long time for this book. So yay that it's here. I religiously read books on the craft of writing, especially by published writers, and Elizabeth McCracken is not only published but lauded. She was a best-selling author for one of her novels. I religiously read those anyway, even though I am more and more of the belief that it's just trial and error and that you really can't teach it. But I know that aspiring writers and even working writers love to read these things, and if you are one of those, in either of those groups, set this aside. Get your library to order a copy of this thing. Get your bookstore to pre-order a copy, because this is going to be wonderful. Just wonderful. Probably full of thoughts that you haven't thought about the craft of writing, even if it's what you do. Okay, then we have an anthology. I don't know if this is self-published. I don't know if this is ebook only. I think I learned about this through Kindle Unlimited. But this is Hearts of Steel. It is a collection. It's an anthology of romance short stories, which is kind of rare. And it's medieval romance short stories. No one in medieval England or anywhere in the medieval world looked like that. That is what I used to call a Soloflex body before Soloflex went out of business. But you know what I mean. That's a creatine body. that's a David Lade body. No one in the Middle Ages looked like that. And wouldn't have wanted to either. But I know a couple of these authors, but most of them I don't. And the premises for a lot of these short stories seem very, very simple and also completely anachronistic. But it could be a lot of fun. So even if it comes down to, I mean, if it's really bad, it might come down, the fun might come down to simply counting the anachronisms. So that'd be bad. That's a bad use of my reading time, but I might do it anyway. You never know. Then we have Matthew Pearl. A lot of you will know his name. He has written lots and lots of books. He is also, at least 25, 30 years ago, was a delightful guy. And his new book is called The Award. And it's an insider look at the world of writing and writers, and especially their horrible, necrotic relationship with major awards. And I don't know anything more about it than that. Haven't received a copy, haven't read it. But boy, oh boy, does that have the chance to be good. Boy, oh boy, does it ever. He had a bestseller, just like Elizabeth McCracken. He had a bestseller, and has been in this world of writing and awards and teaching writing for a long time. So this could be, if it's a brave book, it could be wonderful. That would be great. That would be absolutely great. Then another work of fiction. This is Greg Cox, who has not always done wonders for me when he writes Star Trek fiction. But in December, he's coming out with a Star Trek book called Identity Theft, and it is the original cast. It is a Star Trek, the original series novel. These are rarer and rarer. Amazing as it is to say, because for a whole decade, you got 4 of these a month. But these are rarer and rarer. And this is, not only is it an original series novel, which is fine by me, that is absolutely great by me. Even if Greg Cox is as boring as could be, it's still going to be wonderful to spend time with these characters again. But on top of that, this is a dual time frame original cast novel, which is one of the great things about the original cast. As we've talked about on endless years of Book Trek, time has passed for these characters. We have known them in adventures as young people, and then as middle-aged people, and then as old people. And the 2 frames of this story are set 20 years apart, if I remember correctly. And there'll be a focus on Chekhov, first as a naive young ensign, and then as security officer for the Enterprise A, I think. There's no letter on the cover there, but so that might be the earlier time frame. I'm pretty sure the second time frame in here, the later time frame, is the Enterprise A. But either way, I'm totally on board for this. Totally on board to see what Greg Cox does with this. Then we can finish up with Douglas Russell. This is a book of his on Winston Churchill as a soldier. And I haven't read this, haven't got a copy, but I have a spidey sense. You deal with books long enough, you develop a spidey sense. And my spidey sense tells me that this might be one of that rare thing, a intelligent, worthwhile addition to Churchilliana, to Churchill history. Churchill is one of those figures, like Lincoln, like JFK, that is very, very easy to write a book about him. And therefore, as a direct result of that, it's almost impossible to write a good book about him. Unfortunately, that is the case. You could rattle off a list of such people, of such figures in history, where the easier it is to write a bad book, the harder it is to write a good one. And all of my spidey sense tells me this might actually be a good one. If so, it'd be the first good Winston Churchill book in 2025, getting in just under the wire before we change the year. So we will see. It's certainly, Churchill as a soldier is a long and complicated and very interesting story. Churchill became a well-known national figure and a best-selling author while he was a boy and also a soldier. He was a working soldier writing about military history. There hadn't been such a figure of his prominence in British history in a generation. There's a lot to write about. So I'm all for it. I don't think I know Douglas Russell as an author, but I'm all for it. If he can manage it, that would be great. But I will report back. I hope a lot of these things I will read on my way out the door. So if I come back in 2026, I'll report back on some of them. But anyway, that is a look at December, a kind of December TBR for me. Certainly most of these books are things that I haven't read. So they will definitely be me batting cleanup for the year of 2025, which is rapidly coming to a close. So there you go. Some titles just to maybe add to your own list in a video that you may or may not ever see. I got the Superman portrait. I got Sleepy Bigfoot. I have the Sleepy Bean, who is on her bed because it's 60 degrees. It's early spring here in Boston. It gets chilly at night, but it's otherwise bright sunny skies, not a hint of clouds, no wind, no precipitation of any kind, nothing. Just wonderful short sleeves weather for our walk in the middle of the afternoon and chilly at night, just the way you want it. And I watch a bunch of weather channels on YouTube, and they're all going nuts about these two massive storm systems that are as wide as the country. They're unbelievable, they're killer. Oh my God, it's awful. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. And they're showing you the models, showing these storms sweeping across the country. None of those are going to come to Boston. Both of them are supposed to. Neither one is going to. It's going to be 60 and sunny until it's 70 and sunny in the actual spring. So, but we'll see. So I'm not gonna stress about it. My MacBook is acting up. We will see if this works as an alternative. Certainly in the rest of my day, all the other stuff that I do, including work, because I'm not retired, this has worked just fine. This has worked just fine. So there are a few key items. Can I do work? In other words, can I do work in work formats and work windows and spaces and have it work? Yes, I can. So I can earn money in the course of a day. Okay. Can I make booktube videos? That's another part of my day. Can I do that? We'll see. Can I write reviews for my own venues? We shall see. Day is still young. So I'm going to wrap this up, and we will see if you ever see this. I hope so, because I'm charming. Anyway, I'll be back somehow. Thank you, BookTube.